This program contains graphic content and sexual situations. Viewer discretion is advised. In 2013, a drunken 16-year-old boy gets behind the wheel of a supersized truck. Within moments, he loses control and causes a horrific multi-vehicle accident.
The sheriff's deputy later described the scene as looking more like an airplane crash than a car crash.
4 innocent people are killed, and several others are severely injured. When the teenage driver is brought before a judge for sentencing, a psychologist's testimony shocks the courtroom and enrages the public.
The conclusion that he drew was that this young man suffered from a term called Affluenza,
which he kind of described as being given so much and had no consequences that he didn't know right from wrong because he was so well off.
As public outrage grows, stunning details are revealed about the boy's coddled, indulgent life.
His parents were just a very toxic mix of addiction and neglect and indulgence.
Rather than jail time, he is given a mere slap on the wrist.
It played into everyone's feelings around the world of spoiled, rich kid, getting away with whatever he wanted.
The teen squanders a second chance and lands on the wrong side of the law again.
A video starts to circulate that shows him at what appears to be a beer pong game in the presence of alcohol, which violates his probation.
He flees the country with the aid of his mother and sets off an international manhunt.
Because of his actions, Ethan Couch was once described as the most hated boy in America.
In the winter of 2015, one of the most infamous fugitives in the world isn't a terrorist, but a boy with a nickname that will stick with him for life.
But one of the TV stations called him the Affluenza teen, and all of a sudden that became his name forevermore.
Meet Ethan Couch, AKA the Affluenza teen, an entitled kid enjoying his life of privilege until scandal made him famous. When Ethan Couch was sentenced to probation and therapy instead of jail time for driving while drunk and killing 4 people in an accident, the response was incredulous.
Everybody was so furious around the world. It was like the internet lynch mob wanted everybody that was involved in the case, taken out and whipped.
It had various things that kind of fed that, from the perception of rich, poor, black, white. Why is this person who's killed 4 people and gravely injured another one given this versus, some other people who'd gotten, severe sentences for something that's perceived as much less.
The media went nuts when they heard about Ethan's sentence. Personalities like Dr. Drew Pinsky condemned the judge's decision, and many people said that this was a prime example of how justice was different for the rich.
The sentencing absolutely confirmed this notion that, at least for the wealthy, there really do seem to be a very separate set of rules.
So what put Ethan Couch on such a destructive path? Where did things go wrong? To get an idea of the forces that shaped him and his decisions, we first have to take a look at his parents.
Ethan Couch isn't the only member of his family who has run-ins with the law. Even before Ethan is born, his father, Fred, has legal troubles of his own.
Mr. Couch, you're under arrest for the suspicion of DUI.
Fred Couch is kind of a mysterious, rednecky character he's been described as by a psychologist. Kind of a big, tough guy who's always had a lot of money.
Fred owns a successful sheet metal company, and it provides a very good living for him. But he also had a reputation as being a bully, and sometimes it got him into trouble.
I make more in a day than you do in a year. You know that? You know that?
Let's go.
Once, Fred Couch assaulted a construction supervisor on a job site. He spends less than a week in jail and receives 2 years probation.
This set the stage for the Couch family philosophy. If you had enough money, you could always get out of trouble.
Fred marries Ethan's mother, Tanya, in 1996. The following year, Ethan is born. The family lives in Burleson, Texas, a suburb of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
They lived in this massive house in Burleson, and it seemed like a really nice life. 6 acres, a big workshop, a great house for parties.
Fred and Tanya allegedly give Ethan whatever he wants.
Ethan had been given a four-wheeler and basically any kind of toy a kid could imagine playing with.
And by all accounts, he was overly indulged in pretty much every aspect of his life.
The Couch family's money can't buy happiness, and Fred and Tanya's relationship grows tumultuous during Ethan's childhood.
It seems like there was a lot of trouble going on. There was a lot of strife. There were like constant fights. Tanya Couch, according to court documents, she struggled with addiction for a long time.
Fred will accuse Tanya of taking Vicodin and giving the drug to Ethan when he is a little boy. As reported by D Magazine, police are often called to the Couch home, including a time when a social worker is present interviewing Ethan.
The social worker wrote that Ethan seemed completely unaffected by the police officer's presence. It appears that he had experienced this so many times that it just was nothing new to him.
Tanya's relationship with Fred is fraying, so she looks to Ethan to serve as a guardian of sorts.
Sweet dreams, my little protector.
She told people that Ethan was her protector, even from the time he was 9 years old. And at some point, she moved in a separate bed into her bedroom where he could sleep.
We can very clearly see from the relationship between Ethan and his mother is, to use a clinical term, is they were completely enmeshed in each other, which is unbelievably toxic to a child. That she, in some ways, parentified him.
Fred and Tanya divorced in 2007, and Ethan is shuffled between the two of them. He's attending a private school and reportedly getting good grades, but his parents allowed him privileges that were far beyond his years.
A psychologist in the case said that both parents had adultified him from a very young age. They basically both forgot he was a kid.
By the time he's 13, Ethan is driving himself to school. When an administrator finds out, Fred Couch is summoned for a meeting.
Mr. Couch, Ethan is only 13. What 13-year-old drives himself to school?
Oh, hell. The kid's the best driver I know. Boy wants to drive himself to school, he's gonna drive himself to school.
What kind of message is that sending? We try to prepare our students for college and for life.
Ethan's not going to college. He's gonna take over my sheet metal business.
Regardless, I cannot allow Ethan to drive himself to school.
The boy will continue to drive himself to school. If you have a problem with that, I'll buy this school.
Dad's then immediately lashed out in anger and states, well, then I'll buy the school. Again, teaching his son that if you don't like the answer that you get, you pull out your checkbook and then you buy the answer that you want.
Fred doesn't follow up on his threat, but instead chooses an alternative path for Ethan.
His parents pull him out of the private school and put him into a homeschooling system that he doesn't seem to have lasted long in, and by 15, it appears he's just not going to school at all.
Even though they had previously divorced, Fred and Tanya Couch got back together and remarried in 2011, and they and Ethan moved into this massive new house in Fort Worth.
And Ethan stayed there for a while, and at some point told friends that he and Fred had a big argument, and so he moved back to the house in Burleson, where he was mostly living alone. Parents told court that Ethan was there to get the house ready for sale, but it appears that it was mostly just kind of a crash pad and a party place.
That was basically Ethan's place, that he could do anything he wanted behind those walls.
One of Ethan's sisters had told them she was concerned that he was down here at this house by himself, that he might be drinking, and no supervision, that it could only lead to problems. As I understand it, Tanya kind of didn't say much to that, and then when she discussed it with Fred, he said basically, I can't discuss that with Tanya without leading to a big fight.
By this point, Ethan had no real adult supervision, and so he was going off the rails. He spent his time playing video games and throwing parties and getting drunk.
Ethan? Ethan! Firebird's been moved. Who's been driving it?
I don't.
What did I tell you?
Nobody's supposed to drive it.
Damn right. Now I have to punish you. You're grounded from driving the truck.
But Dad...
But nothing.
In a rare instance, Ethan is grounded after driving one of his father's vehicles that he had been forbidden from using.
It's okay, honey. I'm gonna let you have my truck.
But Fred's punishment is quickly undone by Tanya.
Their relationship was so toxically close that she had trouble separating her role as a parent from her role as best friend.
February 2013, police come across Tanya Couch's truck, which is parked outside of a store that's closed for the night. Inside the vehicle, they find a nude 14-year-old girl passed out. Nearby, they find the truck's driver.
What does it look like I'm doing?
How old's that girl in the car?
So the cops find Ethan Couch. Not only is he peeing, but he's drunk and he's driving without a license. And he has a passed out 14-year-old girl and empty bottles of booze in the car.
Due to Ethan's age, his mother Tanya is called, and she arrives on the scene shortly thereafter.
I didn't know you'd snuck out.
What do you mean? I told you.
We can't tell your father about the drinking.
I only drank one beer.
For this incident, Ethan Couch only gets 2 charges. One is for a minor in possession, and the other for a minor in consumption.
The officer tries to help him, saying, man, you've got to turn your life around. You don't know how many kids I see on this track, and I know where they end up, and you got a chance to turn around.
Drinking and driving usually ends up with someone getting hurt, or worse. Don't mess up like this again.
Thank you, officer.
So he was sentenced to community service and alcohol awareness classes that he never took.
Come on, man, you got this, please.
Yeah, she's hydrated.
Ethan's parents fail to hold him accountable for his actions. His partying continues.
His parents, they should have stepped back and maybe let natural consequences sort of take hold in Ethan's life so that he would learn respect for the law and boundaries.
Kiss. Oh! Sugar daddy. All right, ready? Hit me. Hit me with your best shot. Ooh.
They were drinking all night and playing beer pong at the Burleson house with no adults around.
I told you. Good shot. Good to see you, Garrett. There you go. Yes. Chug it. All right, come on, man. Let's get ready. Boom.
So good. Oh, come here, let me eat. Come here.
In addition to beer, hard alcohol is also consumed at the party. But not everyone there is as indulgent as Ethan Couch.
One of the people at the party was a teenager named Sergio Molina. He was a clean-cut soccer player, and he was a friend of Ethan Couch's.
According to his brother, Sergio is pressured into drinking at the party.
Sergio, right? Here you go.
Thanks, I don't drink.
I mean, it's just one shot.
I'm good.
They made him drink a shot of Everclear. They said if he doesn't drink the shot of Everclear, they were gonna put him in the woods, or kick him out, throw him out there, or something like that.
I don't know you, but I won't let you come to my place. This is how you act? Maybe we should just kick him out.
Dude, just drink the shot.
Come on.
Come on, it won't hurt you.
Drink it. Drink. 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 Drink.
And him, you know, being pressured, peer pressured, and oh, it's just one shot, nothing's gonna happen to you, blah, 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 or just do it, and we drank the Everclear.
Drink, 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 drink.
Woo! It's pretty good, huh? I like it.
But his messages after that, his text messages were scrambled. He's never drank. He doesn't drink. You think about Everclear, it's like 150 or something like that proof. A cup. So he was like, I don't know where I'm at, it's dark.
I like it! Good, huh? Come on.
As the party progresses, Ethan's former girlfriend, Star, comes to him with a dilemma.
Ethan?
Yeah.
My period's starting and I don't have any tampons.
The girl in the group at some point realized she was starting her period and asked Ethan if there was a tampon in the house. And so Ethan said he would drive her to the convenience store to get one.
You're really drunk.
Road trip, everybody!
Yeah, man, you shouldn't drive.
I'm fine. Come on, guys. Let's go!
Come on. He did not know a lot of the kids who were at his house, though, and didn't want to leave them alone. So he piled everyone up into the truck.
Sergio Molina, the young man who only knows Ethan through a mutual friend, gets into the bed of the truck with another teenager. With the others settled in the extended cab and an intoxicated Ethan Couch behind the wheel, the truck screeches off into the night.
Ethan Couch's decision to drive will change many people's lives forever. His own life, the kids in his truck, and even strangers who he'll encounter that night.
Less than half a mile away, the Boyles family is at home when they hear a noise outside.
Did you hear that?
What was that? Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
Outside, they find 24-year-old Brianna Mitchell. She has had an accident and her car is knocked over the Boyles' mailbox.
Are you okay? Yeah, I had a blowout. I'm so sorry about your mailbox.
Better the mailbox than you. It's okay.
I have to call my mom.
I'm gonna go put this in the garage.
Okay, we'll wait here and make sure that she's safe. Hey, Mom, I had a blowout. Yeah, I'm okay. I just need you to come pick me up. Thank you.
As Holly and Shelby Boyles waited with Brianna Mitchell, a youth pastor named Brian Jennings drove up. He'd been to a high school graduation party that night, and he was just a good Samaritan who was trying to help.
Y'all hang tight. I'll be right back.
The group standing by the roadside has no idea that just a short distance away, a truck full of teenagers is speeding in their direction. Behind the wheel is Ethan Couch, and he's driving drunk.
Ethan, slow down. You're driving on the wrong side of the road.
The girl in the truck is very worried that Ethan is not sober enough to drive.
He was driving at incredibly reckless speeds, according to the police and police reports.
He just guns it, and he's going over 70 miles an hour, driving on the wrong side of the road. At one point, he goes to correct himself and drive on the right side of the road, and he overcorrects, and he's into the grass and onto the side of the road where all the pedestrians are.
Homeowner Eric Boyles is putting away his damaged mailbox when he hears the sound of a loud impact.
When he heard this horrific crash, somebody half a mile away said that he thought he heard an explosion.
Eric Boyles discovers a scene of total devastation.
Shelby! Holly!
Mr. Boyles comes out from the garage to his own front yard and sees his wife and daughter dead.
Shortly after the crash, people arrived and they called 911. They described what they saw, and it was chilling.
County 911, what is your emergency? There's a multi-car accident out front of my house.
There's 4 or 5 kids. There's kids laying in ditches and streets.
Are you with the accident right now?
Oh, Lord, oh, yes, there's another child in the ditch. Oh, my God.
A sheriff's deputy will later describe the scene as looking more like an airplane crash than an automobile accident. Ethan Couch's truck has plowed into Brianna Mitchell's car, which in turn has hit the 4 people standing nearby and the parked vehicle of Brian Jennings.
Miraculously, the 2 teenagers who were sitting in the truck of Good Samaritan Brian Jennings survived.
The collision has caused Ethan's truck to flip, hurling Sergio Molina and the other young man sitting in the bed from the vehicle.
And during the crash, they were just completely ejected, both of them injured very badly.
Sergio barely survives, but Holly Boyles, age 52, and her 21-year-old daughter, Shelby, perish at the scene. 43-year-old Pastor Brian Jennings and 24-year-old Brianna Mitchell have also been killed in the crash.
Perfect storm of people in the place, wrong time.
It was horrifying. You have these innocent people who died. You have these other innocent teenagers who were in the truck. You have just all this shock and horror in a suburban community like Burleson.
Ethan Couch survives the accident and frees himself from the overturned truck. But instead of stopping to help others, he simply walks away.
Numerous people arrived to offer aid, and there was one person in particular they really tried to help.
You don't want to go that way. Nothing good happening over there.
You're bleeding. Get a cop or an EMT. No, you need to sit down. You might have a concussion.
It's okay. I'm Ethan. I can get you out of this. Just remember my name. I can get you out of this.
Ethan identified himself, looked at him, was kind of out of it, and said, if you're involved in this, just tell him my name, because my dad will get us everybody out of this.
We need to get you into an ambulance.
I don't need all this.
Hurt?
All right, under the shoulders, gonna lift him up.
Ethan allegedly loses consciousness and is rushed to the nearest hospital.
All right, let's go.
A few hours after the wreck, Ethan Couch wakes up in the hospital.
Ethan's blood alcohol was 0.24, 3 times the legal limit for an adult. Of course, the juvenile is supposed to have 0.
Tests will reveal that Ethan has both Valium and marijuana in his system the night of the crash.
He wasn't supposed to be driving with an adult in the front seat with him, much less by himself. He wasn't supposed to have all these kids in the vehicle. Just almost everything you could think of he was doing was a violation.
Immediately after the accident, the family hires attorneys, which that in and of itself is not unusual. The fact that they brought in within that first 24 to 48 hour period a psychologist is unusual.
On the advice of the psychologist, Ethan is sent to a drug and alcohol rehab center in Newport Beach, California.
Some tea, if you'd like it.
Thank you.
So, how have you been feeling?
Good. A little tired.
You know, we have activities that you can participate in.
This was a posh facility that cost nearly $500,000 a year. They offered things like cooking classes and equine therapy. It was more like a resort than a rehab center.
I'd probably try like aquatics or something.
Hey! Hi!
Hey, son.
Fred and Tanya, Ethan's parents, visit him frequently. They do this even though it's advised that addicts have little interaction with their families early in the rehab process.
You missed you.
Missed you too, Mom.
Are you doing okay?
Oh, goodness, he's fine.
Well, he's got circles under his eyes. Is he eating?
You know, we talked about this before. It is an adjustment period, so it's going to take some time.
Initially, especially in addiction treatment, usually the first month of treatment, there would be no family interaction at all whatsoever, other than possibly handwritten letters. And so my guess is, behind the scenes, his parents supported him being in the program in the sense that if he's in the program, he's not in the Tarrant County juvenile justice system, but not in the sense of, okay, here's our chance to kind of get some things figured out and help him make some different choices.
After 62 days, and against the advice of the people treating his son, Fred pulls Ethan out of the facility. Fred will later give his reasoning as, quote, "I was running out of money."
They had been going to see Ethan constantly, flying first class, and he decided that after the massive expenses piling up, he just didn't want to pay for it anymore.
Ethan returns home to Texas and has to start preparing for the legal fallout from the crash.
Based on the information available, Mr. Couch's attorneys got together and seemed to think that going to trial and claiming not guilty would not be a successful path. His guilt or innocence was never at issue. It was always recognized that he was guilty, and they thought the best possible outcome for Ethan would be to plead guilty, but then to plead his case to the judge and or jury.
Because Ethan was a teenager, his case didn't even go to trial. His sentencing hearing was a matter for juvenile court.
The rest of the world was seeing this as a criminal case, but it was really a juvenile case.
In a closed hearing, a psychologist named G. Dick Miller testifies in Ethan Couch's defense. He describes Fred and Tanya Couch as highly dysfunctional parents. As for Ethan's behavior, Dr. Miller argues that it's due to a specific condition.
When he was testifying, he used the word affluenza, a portmanteau of affluence and influenza.
He felt Ethan was suffering from affluenza, which he kind of described as been given so much and had no consequences that he didn't know right from wrong because he was so well off.
After 3 days of testimony, Judge Gene Boyd delivers Ethan's sentence.
Ethan Couch pleaded guilty to 4 counts of manslaughter. So everyone expected that the judge would prescribe some sort of jail time. But no one in that courtroom expected what they were going to hear next.
Ethan Couch gets no jail time, but is sentenced to rehab and 10 years of probation.
My clients and various other families of victims in this case, that they just couldn't believe it.
No matter what game he or his family think they've beaten, the world is not ever going to take their eyes off from him.
Brian Jennings' friend was the first one that I heard snap. Jumped up in the air, screamed.
Once word of the Affluenza defense and the resulting sentence gets out, the public response is one of outrage.
There was a massive public outcry after the sentencing. We have a very rich kid who is now not being sent to jail. The rationale was that he had never suffered consequences, and so he wouldn't understand what that would be, and so it wouldn't be justice for him to suffer consequences now. And that really upset a lot of people.
They were so furious that he could use his wealth, his status, his privilege as an excuse for doing the wrong thing. And that gave them all the excuses in the world to get outraged, to get on social media and talk about this rich kid who thought he was above the law.
People in Texas were mad. People in Burleson were mad. People in Fort Worth were mad.
He needed to do some jail time. He should have spent some time in a jail cell, no matter how little the time.
Then when they felt like he wasn't punished hard enough, then the nation got mad.
A cover story in Dallas-based D Magazine called Ethan Couch's mother and father the worst parents ever.
And everybody was mad. They were mad at Judge Boyd. They were mad at Tarrant County. They were mad at Texas for not punishing a rich kid. But most of all, they were very, very mad at Ethan Couch.
The families of the victims killed and injured in the crash file civil lawsuits against the Couches.
One of those cases involved Sergio Molina, who was riding in the back of the truck when it crashed. This former soccer player was left paralyzed.
All our lives, he had a goal set to be one of the most famous soccer players in the world. He was being prepared when he was in high school. He was literally getting ready, finding a way to get a scholarship.
According to Sergio Molina's brother, the family had tried to reach out to the Couches for help with the mounting medical bills before the civil lawsuit was filed.
Fred Couch.
Mr. Couch, it's Maria, Sergio's mother.
Jeez.
Mr. Couch, we really need help. We don't have insurance. and...
I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do.
But we really need help. Sergio's medical bills are getting out of hand. I've even had to quit my job to take care of him.
There's nothing we can do. Go ahead and call a lawyer.
Like, they don't care. They said that, you know, go get you a lawyer. Do what you gotta do. Sue if you have to.
Allegedly, Ethan Couch and his parents were totally unsympathetic.
Those people who dealt with him at the accident scene and the post-accident scene saw absolutely no remorse.
Sometimes when somebody's sympathetic, America will get behind them, but this was the exact opposite.
Meanwhile, Ethan attends 2 court-ordered rehab programs in Texas.
These Texas rehab facilities were a far cry from the cushy one that he'd attended in California. But get this, Fred and Tanya said they couldn't afford it, and so they only paid a fraction of the bill.
Ethan's remaining rehabilitation bill, close to $150,000, is paid by taxpayers.
After Ethan was released, we kind of thought, okay, they're going to put him in the probation system, and hopefully he'll have learned something, he can come out. And we thought, best case scenario, the only thing that helps all these folks is if he makes something of his life. And what a perfect ambassador to go out and say, look what I did, don't do what I did. To take the gift he was given and use it.
But Ethan Couch will squander this second chance. His parents, Fred and Tanya, have split and filed for divorce a second time. All the civil cases filed against the family have been settled.
Ethan is allegedly living with Tanya, and he's keeping out of trouble, so his name begins to fade from the public eye. But that wouldn't last for long.
October 2015. Over 2 years since the fatal crash, a group of teenagers attend a beer pong party in Burleson, Texas. One of the attendees captures footage at the party of what appears to be Ethan Couch. Weeks later, the video is shared on social media.
A video starts to circulate that shows him at what appears to be a beer pong game in the presence of alcohol, which violates his probation.
The video was put on Twitter, and both the city of Burleson and the Tarrant County District Attorney were tagged in the tweet. And it read, "Ya boy Ethan Couch violating probation. I got more if you want."
Specifically tagging law enforcement officials and the district attorney's office was a way for that community to say, look what you let loose. Look what you did. This isn't a kid that learned his lesson. He has gone right back to the behaviors that cost 4 people their lives.
It was clear that not only did he not learn his lesson, he's doing the exact same thing he was doing the night of this event.
And so as soon as that video was out, there was this tremendous outrage in Burleson from people who wanted him brought to justice.
According to an affidavit, Tanya reaches out to Fred about Ethan's dilemma.
His probation officer wants him to come in for a drug test. Ethan's worried that they're going to revoke his probation.
Fred allegedly responds, quote, "What do you want me to do about it? He lives with you."
You know what? You don't have to do a damn thing. And you don't have to worry about Ethan at all because you are never going to see him again.
Mom, well, what are we going to do?
Don't worry, honey. I'll fix it, okay?
Rather than face the probation officer, Tanya decides to flee the country with Ethan.
Every mother is going to be protective. Every mother is going to want to save her son from negative consequences if possible. But at this point, it really appears that she is a dangerous influence on her own son, and it's really difficult for her to grasp that.
Right before they go on the run, Tanya throws Ethan a going-away party of sorts.
It's so good. With like a blueberry bagel, spaghetti.
Okay, everybody, just let me have your attention for 1 second. I just want to have you give it up for my son, Ethan. Bon voyage, Ethan. Bon voyage.
They had a big farewell party. It was like, okay, we're running away now.
Of course, none of those folks felt the need to call the authorities and say what's going on.
This is Tanya again, just, instead of doing anything to help her son, just making it more of a celebration, this celebration that both of them were going to be fugitives and leave the country.
Ethan goes as far as dyeing his hair to disguise himself. He and Tanya then leave for parts unknown.
Yet again, they followed what had been, looks like a lifelong modus operandi of this is the potential consequence or conclusion. I don't like that consequence or conclusion, so I am going to refuse to acknowledge it. I'm going to refuse to participate in it.
You ready?
When Ethan doesn't report in with his probation officer, police are sent to his home, but he and his mother are nowhere to be found. The Affluenza teen and his mother are now international fugitives. Tarrant County Sheriff Dee Anderson vows to bring them to justice.
If we can find out that she helped him at all, I assure you we will file criminal cases against her.
Again, there was a media uproar.
People got even madder when he ran away, and they said, see, we told you he'd get away. We told you he wouldn't change. So it became this great chance for everyone all over America to say, well, I may be a bad parent, but I'm not as bad as Fred and Tanya.
Next thing you know, the U.S. Marshals are involved, and there's a poster that comes out that has some really nice pictures of him that says they're searching for him.
A $5,000 reward is offered by U.S. Marshals for information that can lead to Couch's arrest.
Runaway Affluenza teen became the world's search, and people were calling in tips all around the world of seeing young, small teenage boys saying, I think I saw him here, I think I saw him there. He was spotted everywhere.
In reality, Ethan and Tanya take refuge in the Mexican beach town of Puerto Vallarta.
Even though he was in hiding, Ethan Couch could not resist the party lifestyle. He was seen in strip clubs in Puerto Vallarta, and in a really creepy twist, his mother was one time seen with him.
Honey, you ready to go?
I think I'm gonna stick around a little longer.
See you later, sweetie.
They don't ask too many questions at strip clubs in Mexico. But here's this kid who came in and suddenly he got where he was thin on money.
Ethan ran out of money to pay his tab at a strip club that boasted boobies and booties galore over the entrance.
Amigo, it's time to wake up. We're close. You gotta pay.
So who bails him out of trouble yet again? His mom, of course.
Who is it?
It's me, Mom.
Thanks so much for bringing him home.
You owe me money.
How could he spend this much?
Private dances.
I don't have the money to cover it.
That's a nice watch your son's wearing.
Ethan Couch isn't just running low on money, but on luck as well. The long arm of the law is reaching for him. Unbeknownst to Ethan, he will soon lead the police to his own doorstep.
It's kind of funny how authorities were able to finally find Ethan Couch. It wasn't because somebody had spotted him and called the cops. No, it was all because of Ethan's stomach.
I'll get a large double cheese pizza with pepperoni.
Unbeknownst to Ethan and Tanya, their cell phones are being monitored by U.S. Marshals.
Apparently Ethan called for a pizza, and as soon as he did, they immediately could locate his cell phone because it was on their list and they knew exactly where he was.
Mexican Fair Alley, freeze! Put your hands up! Go.
Ethan and Tanya's flight from justice ends roughly 2.5 weeks after it began.
When Ethan and his mom were caught and arrested in Mexico, the glee that you saw sort of from the general public, to me, was almost palpable of, finally, now we're going to fix it, where he's going to finally be punished for taking those lives and destroying those families.
Ethan, however, will do anything to fight being extradited back to the U.S. He claims that Mexican authorities violated his civil rights, and this delays his return. His mother, Tanya, isn't as lucky and finds herself in jail once she's returned to Texas.
Tanya Couch is in jail for helping her son flee the country. And you'd think maybe this would change her attitude. But according to the sheriff at the time, it didn't.
I understand you want to see me?
It's about this place. It's too bright. I can't sleep. And I don't like the fact that people are always watching me.
This is jail, not a resort, Mrs. Couch.
In January 2016, Ethan stops fighting extradition and is returned to the United States.
Do you have anything to say?
During the same month, Tanya is released from jail on bond. In April of the same year, a judge hands down Ethan's punishment for violating probation, and it's symbolic.
He was given 720 days in jail for violating his parole.
The felony judge ruled that he would serve 4 consecutive sentences of, I believe, 180 days, which sort of represented maybe 1 count for each of the deaths in this case.
In April 2016, Ethan begins serving his sentence in county jail for violating his parole, but not for murder.
There are going to be people who will argue forever that he will never suffer the consequences that he needs to, that he'll never get the justice that he probably deserves. In the end, he did go to jail, and this is going to hang over him forever.
While Ethan is in jail, his mom, Tanya, is in trouble with the law again for violating her bond.
While awaiting trial, Tanya is allegedly seen at a gun show holding a rifle and also drinking beer at a bar.
In April of 2018, Ethan Couch was released from jail after serving a 2-year sentence. So we'll see. What's Ethan Couch going to be doing when he's 25, when he's 30? Is he going to be able to turn it around? Only time will tell.
Nobody but he knows at this point if he's learned his lesson. Hopefully he has. I can't imagine that this wouldn't have been many, many wake-up calls, but he certainly didn't listen to the first few.
The deep tragedy in the story is the victims and all the people who were left to pick up the pieces of their lives that have been shattered by what happened that night in June 2013.
I have dreams. I have amazing dreams. The day that my brother once again verbalizes, that's our overcome.
This wasn't just a kid who went bad. This was parents who were actively making their child feel like he was above the law, making their child feel like he was special, that he didn't have to have any consequences for his actions.
I mean, the lesson of this story is that money can buy your way out of a lot of troubles, but it can't buy your way out of other troubles, right? You can't buy your way into a good family.
And unfortunately for Ethan, he didn't have any adult in his life that was ever looking at what was best for him for the whole of his life. As parents, we have a responsibility to not be our children's friend. It is our job to be the shepherds and to be the guides and to help them make those good decisions. And that if we lose our way, it isn't just us that gets lost. We take them with us.